everybody. It's your prison reform sister, Samantha.
And I'm Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear Lifetime Company.
Prison reform sister. I see with the bandana.
Okay, so let me explain my look for a second. The reason I look like this is because I went to school in El Paso, Texas when I was in high school, and I actually graduated the year that P. Mess from this show died. So I thought I'd bring it back to 97 and show you what I wanted to look like when I was in high school, but that my mom would have had a fit if I actually did look like.
Okay.
Yeah, so fancy.
Okay. It looks good.
Thank you.
Kristen, I love this new intro thing that you're doing. It reminds me of Trixie and Katya's because each time they start, they're like, "Hi, I'm a wet Band-Aid, Trixie Mattel," and it's like, that's what you're doing.
I started out small. I started out with relatives, but now I've just decided to go with whatever the theme of the look is.
I just hope it gets longer. Like, I want next time you do it, it's like a paragraph intro.
Like a Fiona Apple album title, where it's like a full block of text. I'll have to remember that. So guys, we are reviewing He's Coming to Me, which is a show that aired on GMM TV, and it is the great missing GMM TV show.
It is weird how they've not made this available. I wonder if it's because it's Singto in a ship that's not with Artit, and they're like, we don't want the international fans to see. I don't know. It's not a good excuse. I
don't know either, because I'm currently watching Friend Zone, which is a show where Singto is in a gay relationship with somebody who's not Christ, and he had a pseudo relationship with another guy in the show, and it's like he's done shows where he's had different romantic interests, be they female or male. I'm not sure why this show has never been fully embraced by GMM TV. So a little background on this show before we give you a synopsis. This show, I think, aired on Line TV exclusively. It never made its way to YouTube. And when it aired on Line TV, it was not English subbed. It was completely in Thai. So even if you had a VPN, you wouldn't have been able to watch it with the subtitles on it. So since that time, a couple of different fan forums have done the English subs on this thing. And because it's different fan forums and they're trying not to be copyright striked by GMM TV, you will not find full episodes on YouTube. We found episodes, a couple of different websites that aren't as DCMA or DMCA restrictive.
Right.
And I found a couple on like Facebook. But it's almost impossible to find a good, clean copy with English subs that's in high quality definition, because it's just so incredibly bootleg just to get the subs on it. And I have to wonder, GMM TV, is it because of the fact that it is Singto and another BL ship with somebody who's not Christ? Or is it because you hate Om Pawat? I will talk about that later on. But
is that
it is just
rant?
That might be. That very well might be. It also runs into my Instagram of the day. But yes, I feel like there is a conspiracy to keep Om Pawat down because they know he is the future. All right, so synopsis time. Mason, will you do us the honor?
Sure. So this show, He's Coming to Me, is about a ghost named Met or Mess. It's spelled Mess. They kind of say Met. I'm going to go in between both of them. And he dead. He died in the 90s. You said 97?
Yes. That's
the year I was born. Oh my God.
That's the year I graduated high school. You could be my prom baby.
Oh no. That's how I'm going to introduce myself next time. And I'm Samantha's prom baby. Your white prom baby.
That's why I had to leave you in the bathroom. No one would understand.
You're like, it's not the right shade. And he's in the cemetery, and No one's really cleaning up his grave. No one's really checking on him. It's very, very sad. However, he notices that a little boy can see him. His little boy name is Tan, and he is played by Om. And kind of over the years, the little boy visits each year to visit his grandparents, but also Tan's dad passes away when he's very young and is buried in the same cemetery, so they go visit him there too. And basically, he's the only one that brings him something to eat, something to pray for, and they kind of build a little friendship. You know, he's the only one that sees him and will acknowledge him. So Tan is now in college, and he's been away for a few years, but he comes back and he brings Mess home. Through incense, he's able to bring him home and into his house, and Mess is kind of able to experience the 21st century. And they try to solve the mystery of his death and fall in love.
So as you could tell from Mason's synopsis, this was a story that I was very hesitant, and I think Mason as well, to start, because how do you have a happy ending in a love story between a ghost and a human? Because, like, logistics. Most ghosts tend to be non-temporal, meaning that they don't really live on the earthly plane, and so kisses, hugs, intercourse, as much as you read stories about people saying, I was raped by a ghost, really and truly, what are the mechanics of this? And also, part of the storyline is in trying to figure out how Mess was killed. It is in an effort to aid him in his journey to reincarnation. So he's got to go away.
Because, like, each spirit has a different color, kind of about why they haven't passed on yet.
Yes, I wrote them down.
Okay.
So Mess has a red aura, which means he does not know how he died. Blue means that you died too soon. And yellow means that there was no funeral for you. You had no family to bury you.
Damn.
Yes, which I have a problem with yellow. I'm thinking I was really upset when I heard that, because I'm thinking, what if you were killed by a serial killer who, like, dumped your body in some place where you were never found, and you do have a family, but they couldn't have a funeral for you because they didn't know you were dead, because they never found your body, and so you're just out there in the rice paddy or wherever, slowly decaying. You're punished for eternity because you were murdered?
Fair enough.
So things like that make me upset. Sorry about that. Or, like, what if you're killed in, like, a real big tragedy, like a tsunami or an earthquake where hundreds of people died and their remains can't be found? Then it's like, again, you're punished for eternity because some terrible accident happened to you? But again, I digress.
Right.
Yeah, but yellow, the most unfair aura on the planet.
Yeah. At least it's a good color. It's not like gray. You don't have a dingy aura.
I guess so.
I don't know. But yeah, I really liked the show. I think one of the things I really liked about this story is I liked how they handled Tan's character really coming to terms with himself and his sexuality. I think overall that was handled well. He did have to hurt some feelings along the way. Hurt his friend. Oh, I forgot his friend's name. The girl.
Ply. Yeah.
Yes. So there's parts where it's like, oh, he may like Ply. He may be into her. They kiss at one point, and it's kind of him fielding out our girls for me, which you feel bad for the girl involved, you know. But I do really like how that was handled overall. And I felt for him when his friends were like yelling at him, like, what's going on with you? You've been acting weird lately. You got to tell us what's going on. It's like, first of all, he's got a whole ass ghost in his apartment. He's got a ghost boyfriend going on. How do you explain that one? Second of all, you know, figuring himself out. You know, he's angsty. He's got some angst to him, which I liked.
I remember that part of the storyline and being like, I get why your friends are confused that you're acting so weird because you aren't talking to them. But at the same time, his friend Prince, I kind of felt like telling him, like, just be honest. You need to
Mm-hmm.
be honest. So one of the storylines in the show is that Pitan has a group of friends. They consist of Prince, Keem, and Ply. And Ply is a girl, Prince and Keem are boys. And Ply has a crush on Tan, but Prince has a crush on Ply.
Mm-hmm.
And Ply breaks up with her boyfriend Chin, who is played by the guy who played Dim in Together. And she breaks up with him, tells the guy that she's dating Tan. And Tan is kind of giving it a chance because he's like, well, I've never actually kissed a girl. I've dated girls, but I never kissed one. Maybe if I kiss a girl, that'll be what turns the corner for me. But it doesn't. And so it hurts Clyde's feelings because she's like, I don't know what I did wrong. I thought you were interested in me. And then you like totally ghost me after we have our kiss. And it hurts Prince because Prince has this lingering kind of desire for Ply, but he never voices it, even though he knows what her favorite drink is. He goes shopping with her when she wants to go shopping. He spends
Mm-hmm.
all his time doing stuff for her, but he never voices it out. And when they get in the argument about Prince asking Tan to be clear with Ply about his feelings for her, I get why Tan said it's none of your business, but I feel like if Prince had been honest with Tan from the beginning and said, you guys joke a lot about going out. Are you actually interested in her? Because if you're not, I need you to know that I'm interested in her and I want to go after her. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think if he had done that from the very beginning, because of the kind of personality that Tan has, he would have been like, yeah, bro, no problem. I'll back off.
Yeah.
So that's one angst point that could have completely been eliminated if Prince had gone to his friend and said, I don't want to misunderstand what you guys' relationship is, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to step on any toes. So can you clarify for me what it is? Because this is what I'm feeling.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but misunderstandings. It's
Mm-hmm.
the backbone of all good soap operas.
Like this one.
Yes. Um. So PMS. I want to talk briefly about his sad, sad story. Spoilers! Spoilers! Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. PMS has a sad ass backstory.
That poor boy.
He lost both of his parents as a young man. He has a heart condition that he takes daily medication for and has for a really long time, it sounds like. And he's living in the home of his uncle, who it seems to me his uncle doesn't really care for him based on his later actions. And he ends up dying on his birthday, the day he turns 22.
Mm-hmm.
And then, insult on top of injury, he's buried in one of these traditional Thai mound tombs. They're beautiful, by the way. I
They
have to
really
say,
are.
they're gorgeous. I think if I was a person who was able to design a, a cemetery for me and my loved ones, that would be what I'd go for. All of us
Yeah.
in a burial mound with this nice big tomb with benches. And anyway, I
Yeah.
digress.
Very pretty.
Mm-hmm. But he's buried in this burial mound, and no one from his family comes to see him after he dies. And it's just him waiting there for almost 20 years to be acknowledged or just have anything happen besides the day-to-day monotony.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really hard watching this show and not constantly feeling sorry for Mess, even when Mess was sometimes a little bit unreasonable of his reactions to things that Tan would do. I just always felt really bad for him because I'm like, you're confronted every day with the fact that no one ever loved you. That the two people who
Yeah.
actually loved you in life died before you died, and no one has ever cared about you since.
Right.
That just, that breaks my heart. Like
Yeah.
I honestly sometimes, if there is an afterlife, I hope it's one of those things where like the minute you die, you go where you need to go, because if you've got to linger for these cycles of reincarnation, I don't want it, because I have a feeling I'd be just like him, sitting out in the cemetery talking about, when is anyone going to visit me?
No, I'll be visiting you.
I like the fact that you believe that I'll die before you, but also I only have one child, and I mean, I hope that she'll visit me and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's got her own life and everything else. So that's a thing. But yeah, I can't imagine how sad you would be. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why the rules of reincarnation feel very unfair. Because
Yeah.
he's punished again. He's punished for being killed, and he's punished for having no one loving him.
Yeah. Poor
Fucking
guy.
I know, terrible. So with this horrible backstory, him meeting Tan when Tan is a little boy is like the only bright spot in his life. Because for the
Mhm.
first time, someone who is living is acknowledging his presence. Someone who is living is making offering to him. And he kind of thinks that this little boy can see him. And the first couple times, the little boy, pretends like, oh, what is that? I don't hear anything. But
Mhm.
then the last time he's at the tombstone to visit his own dad who's just recently passed away, and he and Ness hug. And when the show first began, again, this is our rewatch. When the show first began on the rewatch, I was like, okay, this isn't gross, because like even though he's a little boy, they've only met for like a handful of minutes, a handful of times over several years. It wasn't like this boy grew up knowing
Yeah.
this guy or anything like that. They very few and far between were their meetings. But then we get to the last episode of the show, and it turns out that Ness has had feelings for Tan ever since they first met.
Mhm.
Talk to me, Mason. How do you feel about that? Because I feel uncomfortable.
It lowers my opinion of the show. Because up until then, you're like, I really like this. And I feel like if he was like, oh, I appreciate that someone had finally, given me comfort after 22 years of being alone, I'd get that. I'd get that. But being like, I've had feelings for you for the last, 15 years that I've known you, since you were a little kid, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That's really
I
sketchy. That's really sketchy.
I hope that it's a matter of poor translation, because there are some moments in the English subs that are not great,
Yeah.
and it's like that doesn't make any sense what you just wrote. But I really hope it's a matter of mistranslation. I hope
I
it's
hope
more
so.
like, I've always cared about you since you were a little kid, like.
Yeah.
But if it's, I've always had feelings for you, this child was a child when they met.
Yeah.
And that's just, I
It's
know
not
you're lonely,
good.
guy.
Yeah.
You can't be that lonely.
Yeah.
uh, so tell me how you feel about the majesty that is Tan.
What do you mean? Him as a
I,
character?
I think him as a character is one of my favorite characters we've watched in Boys Love.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Again, I really liked the coming out part. I don't know what to say about him.
I like the fact that, yeah, I like the fact that
O was just so charming. Like, he's just so charming in this role. Like, this role is so perfect for him.
that is what I like about the character of Tan. I feel like Tan is the character that's the closest to like who I feel like Ohm would be as a real person. Not saying that he was just playing himself, but like this is a character who seems like he doesn't take anything too seriously, but at the same time he's extremely earnest. He's somebody who has a lot of charm but also has a lot of insecurity and puts up a lot of masks to mask that insecurity, or he
Yeah.
tries to act oblivious in order to hide those insecurities.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just really, he felt like a very real person. There was nothing about him that felt like he was too perfect. And
Yes.
sometimes in Boys Love, our main characters are too perfect. Like, Quiet as It's Kept, History Make Our Days Count,
Mm-hmm.
Wayne is a little bit too perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because he goes from like, I don't like you as a person to like, I would lay down my life for you.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that's a little bit too perfect. Whereas like you really felt like the relationship between Tan and Ness grew organically,
Mm-hmm.
and his actual conflict with his sexuality was born out of a very real place based on the kind of person he is.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that kind of journey, because again, it's a thing where I don't think I can relate to it as much, but I think maybe you can, in terms of like the way that that feels to have those several comings out.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot it was interesting to watch him come out to his friends and like almost the next scene he came out to his mom. Um, I feel like I feel good about it. I like the way that it was done. I think it's very honest and realistic because at the end of the day, you never stop coming out, you know? I mean, if you're me, I'm a little, so people kind of know pretty early on when I open my mouth, they're like, oh. But um, definitely presented a bit more like, this is kind of a gross phrase, but like straight passing. And just like he's gonna have to come out to everyone that he meets. But I like that I thought it was relatable. I felt bad for Ply. I felt really bad for her. But I also understand why he did what he did and why he felt that it was necessary. And there does seem to be some almost internalized homophobia with like, I don't know if I want to be this way. I need to make sure that I like a girl because I want to be normal. Because when he came out to his mom, he was like, you're going to be really disappointed in me when I have this thing to tell you. And she's like, oh, you got a girl pregnant. And he goes, if if it was switched, you would not be mad after I say this. And then she's like, oh, you're a homo? That's fine. I had a friend that was a homo. Like, the mom was really cool with it, but I understood why. Sorry, it's so I have this thing where I'm like panicking. I'm like, oh, we don't edit this, and I keep losing my train of thought, and then you're just staring at me, the
No,
audience.
I'm
So
sorry.
sorry, I'm like
Well, I will tell
panicking.
you, the part that, like, I remember thinking this is where we begin, this is where it moves, is when he was in the locker room with the twins, and they're like, look at all these titties and asses we have on our cell phone, and then they
Uh-huh,
go to him and they're like, hey, I bet you got a bunch of dicks on your cell phone.
uh-huh.
And he's kind of like play fighting with them, and he drops his phone. After that, he talks to Mess about how he feels, because when people are picking on him about him being gay, he feels like he can't move, like he can't refute it, but at the same time he can't acknowledge it. And at that point, he hadn't come out yet.
Content.
So it's a really interesting conversation, because you're not sure if that conversation was going to go and I can't refute it because I am,
Mm-hmm.
or if he said I can't refute it because then that'll just confirm it in their minds that I am. And so that was a very interesting conversation to me, because I think a lot of times with young people who happen to be gay, it that's how it begins. It's these little kind of smaller conversations where you gauge the people around you to see if you can trust them with your feelings. And then also, if you don't know for sure what you are, but you know that you have all of these feelings, it's also a conversation about that confusion. Like, I don't know what to say when they say this stuff to me, because I feel, but I don't know what I feel. And so I thought that was a really good way to introduce that, because prior to that moment, I don't think we had any questions about his sexuality. In fact, to be honest with you, if he never had come out to anybody and they had just played it like he was always known as gay throughout the whole show, he wouldn't have had to change any of his behavior, in my opinion. Because he was absolutely making eyes at Mess all the way from the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
Like he was definitely laying it on. Like I'm into it. I'm into you. I'm into it. But I was like, this is interesting, because this kind of is like, you're the first person that I felt like I could talk about this to, but also this is the start of me actually trying to process this, because I have a reason to process this now. And so I thought that was a really good place to start, because we don't see that. In a lot of boys' loves, it's like, I'm in love with a boy. Could I be gay? And it goes 0 to 100. It's never the in between, or I've been having these feelings since before I met you, and I've been having problems with this since before I met you in terms of self
Right.
acceptance and the people around me knowing. So I just thought that was really interesting that it gave his journey a longer timeline than what it would normally have in most BLs, but
Mhm.
it also played into that journey again, that growth journey, which we love
Right.
to see.
Right.
Yeah. So I was into it. Even though I felt terrible for him when he came out to his friends. I hate that him coming out was prompted by an argument.
That scene gives me anxiety. I remember watching it the second time. I'm like, here it comes. Oh, he's gonna say it. Oh, he's gonna yell it in the gym, the echoey gym. You know, it was like, and then poor Ply is there, and she's plucked, and she has every right to be, and it's just like, not today. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Just, I'm glad his friends were chill though. They were like, eh, you know.
I am too.
Um, yeah. And the mom was chill too, which was good. And they did something that I really liked as well. Is she mentioned that, oh, we've had discussions with your dad that we would love you truly no matter what, which means it makes me feel like his dad also would have really accepted him too, which
Mhm.
I just thought was a really nice touch for that scene.
I think so too. I think that's really nice that, it's saying like you don't have to worry about disappointing him either because
Mhm.
he would have loved you through it. I also find it to be the age-old adage that sometimes the parents know. Like you come out to them just kind of to formalize things, but sometimes they know. And I
Yeah.
have a feeling that maybe his parents have known for a really long time and they're just like, when the time comes, this is how we'll react. We'll act like we're shocked. But, oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Which
I
don't
just
do.
yeah. So I really do like that because that is how it goes. A lot of times we know, it, we know, but it is nice that they had those conversations because so many other people live in ignorance. There's so many parents who are like, well, maybe it's just because he's interested in art, or maybe it's just because he doesn't like sports, or maybe it's just because she doesn't like wearing dresses, or maybe it's just because she doesn't do her hair or makeup. And they make all these excuses as to why you're not more heteronormative or heterosexual. And sometimes it's not that. Sometimes your kids just are who they are. I mean, Tan is a basketball playing, slightly muscular boy. He lives in a messy ass room covered in basketball posters and other shit. If he didn't tell you, how would you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of like his parents really knowing who their child is.
Right.
So
So
that's really
quick,
nice.
quick sidebar to his room, by the way.
Did you see the Confederate flag?
No.
Okay.
The
Okay, so peep
Confederate
this.
flag?
Episode 1, the very first time we go into his room, and he is coming out of the shower or his bedroom after he just woke up, and his friends go into his room for the very first time. That wall by his bedroom door, not the kitchen, but the other side of the bedroom door wall,
Uh-huh.
there's a Confederate flag on that wall, and it shows up in the first episode. And if you notice, there's never any camera angles to show you that wall ever again the entire rest of the show.
That's a blink and you miss it, I think.
I had to rewind it because I'm like, am I seeing things? And then I rewind, I'm like, there's a Confederate flag on that wall. What the fuck is going on here?
Did someone tell them that was wrong?
They must have told them after the very first episode because
Yeah.
they never showed that wall ever again. The only walls you ever see are the wall behind the couch, the wall behind the desk, you see the kitchen, and then you see his bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But that wall that separates the bedroom from the living room, you never see the living room side of that wall ever again for the rest of the series.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say that I really liked the set design for his room, but now I'm like,
outside of that, the set design is actually really cool.
Yeah, because like a lot of these shows, especially the ones in college, they're always like in a white t-shirt and black pants in a white building, and it's just like bland to look at. Like I've noticed in a lot of these boys' clubs, they'll take big effort into designing, someone's room, and I really like that. We spend a lot of time in Tan's room, so we have a lot of stuff, and it all feels in character. It helps enrich him even more. It was just good set design, good mise en scène. Except for
I liked it. Well, yeah, besides the Confederate flag, because like one of the things like you had mentioned in terms of like setting up the scene, when we first go in his room when he brings Mess home for the first time, there's like panties on the table in the living room, and there's milk cartons on the couch. Like it looks like a boy lives there, which makes sense. It should look like a boy lives there. But the kitchen, if you notice, is always like kind of empty, not decorated at all, whereas everything else is. And he mentions like, I never cook in this kitchen. So it makes sense that the kitchen wouldn't be decorated, but everything else would. So it is just that very much, it looks like it could be his character. And that's appreciated. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that next time anybody watches that show, pay attention to the very first time that we meet the friends of Tan. And Tan comes out of the bedroom, shirtless. I appreciate you. And on the wall, I appreciate the shower scene as well. But on the wall next to the bedroom, there is a Confederate flag. And it's really fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. I appreciate that they waited until Ohm was legal enough for me to watch for him to do these shirtless scenes because they were nice. I appreciate the costume designer for Ohm specifically and for Ply as well, because Ohm's pants were never baggier than a single centimeter. They made sure all of his pants were extremely fitted and good looking out. And and I thought that whenever Ply was not in uniform, they kept her in some very cute clothes. There was like the one scene where they went to the pagoda. That outfit, I was like, I live for these yellow pants and this kind of rust-colored turtleneck. This is cute.
Yeah. I think she's super pretty. I think it's a very attractive cast. I thought the friends were cute. She was cute.
It was. And, beautiful people hang out together. So this isn't bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really made a lot of sense that they would all be gorgeous. I hate the blue suit that they had Mess in for the majority of the show.
I thought it was cute.
I hate that fucking suit. I think it is. I don't like the collar of the suit. I don't like that the suit had shoulder pads. Like it looked like something that somebody that just came out of a mental hospital would wear, or something that like Marty McFly from Back to the Future would wear. I hated that fucking suit. Also,
I vibed with it. I liked it.
On my list of questions, because I have a list of how the fuck did this happen questions that we'll get into. The burning clothes, but not burning in the dressing room. There's a moment in the show where we see P. Mess in, looks to be like a yellow top and maybe some beige pants, and that's his funeral outfit. And then Ohm Piton goes to the cemetery and brings a bunch of clothes that he burns in a bowl so that Mess can wear them. And the final outfit that he settles on is this blue suit with these kind of khaki colored shoes, I guess. But when it's time to go to Piton's birthday, they go to a store. He lights a little instant incense in the dressing room, and all of a sudden, Mess can change clothes, don't have to burn anything. Number one, the clothes that were burnt. How much money did you spend to burn multiple outfits to figure out what would fit on this boy? And number two, if we could have just lit the incense, why didn't we do that? I'm sorry, as a poor person, these are the things that are on my mind. So yeah, I was not a fan of that. But consistency is a problem. So I feel like I should get to the main section of why is that like that?
Okay.
Okay. So number one, how was he typing? So we've established that it takes a lot of concentration and powers for Mess to be able to move things. How do you type? You have to move and decompress the keys on the keyboard. How was he able to do that when initially he couldn't master holding things for quite a while, but he was able to get on Facebook? I have questions, comments, concerns. If you pray at the door, would it bless the whole apartment? So whenever they wanted something to be tangible or manipulated by Mess, the ghost, they would light the incense next to it, and all of a sudden he would be able to like duplicate it or make it to where he could use it, whatever else. Wouldn't it make sense, instead of duplicating a bowl of cereal, duplicating a piece of paper, just light the incense in front of the apartment door and be like, this whole apartment is blessed. Anything in here you can use, it's yours. I'm just asking. Next, following the girl with no incense stick. There is a moment where Ohm is like, hey, you need to stay out here while I take my class because you're annoying me. And all of a sudden, Mess sees this girl with, I guess, she's got like a notebook with an emblem on it, and the emblem looks familiar. So he follows the girl all the way through the campus to this building. Doesn't he need to be near this fucking incense stick? How is he able to follow this girl all through campus, but there's no incense stick following you around? It's in the classroom with Tan. So what the fuck? Next, can ghosts smell? Random question, but I have to ask, and then I said, yeah, probably because they can taste. Next, why is there a spell over the secret record room? So at one point, they're trying to figure out what Mess's real name is, because in Thailand, people go by their nicknames, and then they have like their official name. Well, because Mess is a ghost, he should have been able to like float through the wall and go into the secret record room, but he couldn't because somebody put a spell above the door of the secret record room. Who did this? Why did they do this? Had multiple ghosts been going in and out of the record room? I have questions, comments, and concerns. Next.
I'm just picturing you standing in front of like a CEO of GMT being like, I have questions, comments, and concerns.
Pretty much. Also, do they not write names on gravestones? Multiple graves in the funeral piles, tombstones where PMS is buried have names written on the stones. Did no one write his name on his stone, and that's the reason why they spent the whole time trying to figure out what his name is? Again, I have questions. Next, why did they never sell the old family home? So when they figured out Mess's real name, because Kim's sister got the list of people who died from heart attacks in 1997, they go to his old family home because that was the address that was listed at the hospital. Again, more proof that his uncle fucking hated him. And when they go to the house is abandoned. It looks like it's run down, and it has been empty and abandoned for 20 years. If the uncle needed money the way he claimed that he needed, why did he not sell that house?
Yes.
And then, go ahead.
I guess he didn't really need the money after he murdered his nephew.
Right. And then my last question is wigs. Did you really think that you were going to make that old man look young by putting a dark black wig on him?
They really did. They said, we went to Party City. We put it on his head. We said, no more.
Done.
Yeah.
Youth restored. That wig is the worst looking wig I've seen in a really long time. And we've seen wigs in Diary of Tootsies. We've seen wigs in Until We Meet Again. That is the worst wig I've ever seen in a show.
Yeah. They should have consulted whoever did the wigs for My Engineer.
Yes, because they know what the hell they're doing, unlike whoever this clown is.
Yeah.
So since you've already said it, let's talk about the death of Mess.
I hated that. I felt like the grandpa never really got what he deserved for that.
I agree.
Because it was just kind of like, yeah, I did kill him. It was bad. I shouldn't have done that. And it's like, no, you murdered your nephew, sir. And then Fly was like, it's okay, Grandpa. I still love you. And I was like, the man's dead to me.
I don't understand why he didn't just talk to Mess when Mess was alive and say, I am in a lot of financial difficulties. Can I take a loan from you? Can you give me some money? Anything like that. Why did it have to fall down to murder? This kid has lost his parents. He's dealing with a heart issue, and you're his only family. Why wouldn't you just say, hey, as a favor to me, can you do this? I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do. I could really use the help. I don't feel like Mess would have been like, fuck you, old man, that's my money. Because if he really
Yeah.
felt like that way, he wouldn't have moved into the family house. He
Right.
would have lived on his own. Because he was 21 right before he died. He turned 22 the day he died. So he was old enough to live on his own, have his own place, his own servants, whatever, but he chose to live in the family house. So obviously he wanted to be close to family. So why did you not feel like you could just ask your nephew if you could borrow the money or have the money instead of murdering him?
Mm-hmm.
No, the family house that he's left was worth millions. If you had sold the house, you would have covered a big chunk of the debt you had.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, fuck that guy, man. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. I don't know. He just sucks.
And then the way he tried to spin the death of his nephew, at first he's like, I don't know who that is. Then next is like, why are you bringing this up? I lost all my family and you're hurting my feelings. Then it's like, well, it was because I didn't know what to do and I was so scared. And then it turns out, no, you actually murdered him in cold blood. Not
Yeah.
only did you hide his medication, you put a heart accelerant into his cup of medicine that he normally takes.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I was Auntie Nam, I would have killed you myself because you made me an accomplice to murder. I did not
Yes.
do that.
I hope she fucking quit afterwards. She would have been like, oh my God.
Yeah, fuck that old man. I would have been trying to poison him next.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm already a murderer. Let's just get with it. Because that's awful. Like, he set it up to make it look as natural as possible. And then if you felt guilty or you felt bad about the fact that you murdered your nephew, why didn't you ever take care of his grave? Why would you barricade the room? Like, why would you do all these things that show that you don't feel bad about it. You feel duplicitous about it. You feel like this is something to hide. Fuck you,
Yes.
man.
Because they literally like had his like photo folded up in the picture frame and stuff.
Yeah, and don't even mention his name. And it's like, if you did all this to make it look like he died of natural causes, you should never have to fear mentioning his name. You should never have to fear looking at a picture of him. Because as far as the medical records are concerned, he died of a heart attack. So you can always tell your other family members, oh, do you remember the nephew, P. Mess, who died of a heart attack? So sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it makes me wonder what happened to the rest of the family. Because
yeah, why did they not know anything? Like, it's weird Ply didn't know because that's her uncle.
yeah, and he named her. But you don't know him. Your mother never said you got your name from your uncle Mess. Also, like, there were multiple family members at that birthday party. All of them are dead. So I'm not saying the old man is a serial killer, but the only people that Ply identified are left in her family is her mom, who lives in the US, and her grandpa. So was grandpa running into money troubles every few years?
Could be. They could just be like the Kennedys and just drop, because Mess already lost his parents, so it could just be a cursed family.
It could very well be so. But yeah, I mean, the grandpa's got some explaining to do, and the compliance of other people around him to forget this person is fucking ridiculous. Also, not for nothing, since we have this supernatural element in the room, I wonder if maybe the reason why all the other family members died is because the gods were mad at them for this unsolved murder. Because you notice that part of the reason why Mess couldn't come into the house to do the search initially is because there was a house god altar in the entryway of the home that you had to light incense for him to pass. So if house gods are real, do you think that maybe they like cursed that home and they're like, until you solve this mystery and this murder that you committed on sacred ground, I'm just going to slowly kill your family members? Because
Maybe.
I feel like that's also a thing we need to take. The whole spiritual part of this very much intrigues me, and I'd like to know more about it because it just feels like it plays such a big role, but because it's so unfamiliar to me, I don't know what the rules are for all of this.
Yeah, it could just be that we're just like Americans who don't know anything about
Yeah.
this, you know? And like,
Yeah.
it can make total sense in Thailand, you know? Who knows?
Hmm. Also, I spent a very big chunk of my week trying to find one of those light up incense sticks.
Why?
I don't know. I just kind of wanted one.
What if that was the ad? The ad set that they had. It was
What
like,
if that was the merch? I'd be down for it.
yeah.
Yeah. Because, I
Well,
mean, he must have had 50 of them.
they can't make merch for a show that they're not promoting.
True, true. Well, the incense stick company, wherever you are, if you could leave a link down in the comments section because I would like to buy one.
Straight from Thailand.
I would put it next to my History 3 photo book because it means something to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is a side note, but another thing that I don't know why I don't know why Tan's character didn't like think this shit through a little bit. He fully is just speaking aloud to no one because no one else can see mess. He's just fully like speaking to dead air multiple times.
I agree. I feel like in order for Mess and Tan to sustain a relationship that's not going to get Tan put into the loony bin, they need to learn sign language.
No, that would still be weird because then he'd just be walking around being like on dates.
I think it'd be better than him talking out loud. That or else he needs to like have headphones in. That way it seems like he's talking on Bluetooth because you see that all the time in public. People talking
Yeah.
on headphones and they're actually talking to someone. Then people wouldn't think he was crazy. They just think he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a little thing where I was like, have some tact, because you look crazy.
Yeah. Because that is very weird. Okay, so I had a question I did not write down here, but we've already kind of talked about it. Go sex logistics. So I'm assuming that if you want it enough and you wish with your whole heart that something can be true, you can have it. And that's the reason why when they had their first and second kisses, all of a sudden the ghost was made temporal because they were able to actually have a kiss and actually have a hug and actually have some kisses. So if your dick wants it enough, can you make the sex a reality?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how long Mess is going to remain on Earth. I don't know why he was told to go back, but I assume it's so he could spend time with Tan and they can have their relationship. But the relationship's got to keep moving. And they kind of suggest that, Mess says, I'm not the good boy you think I am. So how are we doing this? Also, like ghost lube, are you putting like the incense stick and you put the condom in the lube there and you pray to it and then all of a sudden it works? Because I mean, not to get too nasty with it, but I'm thinking, depending on what your position is, you're going to need some accompaniment. And how does that work when it comes to ghost parts melding with human parts? But that is a whole other fanfic waiting to be written.
I don't think you need to pray. No, because he's not like when they're doing the pray thing for like eating food and clothes, it's so he can wear it, But he can also pick up Tan's cup and bowl. He just can't eat it, He can still pick it up. So I think he would. Yeah, I don't think so. I think if they wanted it enough, they could just do it. Put on that condom, lube up a bit. They're fine.
So can he wear it?
I think so. I don't know.
Right?
This is a wholesome story about a ghost boyfriend, Sam.
Questions, comments, and concerns.
The sex. How long can they go for? How long can he be sustaining?
What do ghost orgasms look like? Is it just, magical spray? Is there a mess to clean up? But
That's true. Yeah. I've never
right?
ghost orgasm, but now I'm like, what if it's like pixie dust? Grants you a wish or something.
Yeah, what if you just feel like a light puff of air that lets you know something happened? You're like, there it is.
Yep.
I appreciate the sound effects. Overall, He's Coming to Me is a perfectly serviceable show. It is hampered by the fact that it's 8 episodes instead of 12. I think if it was 12, some things could have been spaced out a little bit. Some explanations on some of this stuff could have absolutely been had. I definitely would have liked to have seen a little bit more to the story between Prince and Ply after they make their confession to each other. Not necessarily because I'm super interested in the straight ship, but just because I kind of want to see them talk to Tan after they get together and just kind of like round that out, because Tan has talked to Prince and Tan has talked to Ply, but he's not talked to the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel like maybe Prince has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about that whole thing.
Right.
So I don't know. I could have used a little bit more time there. And then like Kim, I feel like Kim really got the short end of the stick when it came to the friendship, even though he was the power player in this show in terms of comedic effort. He really put in the time.
And I did like how at the end, it was kind of weird, it came out of nowhere, but I thought it was cute that he can now suddenly see the comedic female ghost in the cemetery. And I would love to see the comedy duo stylings of those two characters.
Yes, because she was a mess. She was great. And I love the fact that like whoever buried her in a fanny pack and Adidas track pants.
Yeah, maybe she was murdered. She was murdered and buried on the side of the road.
Listen, I feel you on that, because we don't know what the auras of Jang or Ingun look like. So why are they still out there?
Listen, we need a season 2. Ghost sex needs to be addressed. And I want to know her backstory.
I do. I want to know everything. The fact that Jang died slipping on his own pee is just, I need a reenactment of that.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see that.
I
From
need that
multiple
flashback.
camera angles, we are going to shoot this.
Because, like, what were you doing? Where were you peeing at? Because you didn't have your foot in the toilet and slipped in the toilet, so where were you peeing that there was enough pee for you to slip and fall in your own pee?
Sometimes you get a split stream and you're like, oh.
I just feel like, again, I need an explanation. I need to see that one in flashback.
I don't know, guys are gross. This is always the boys' bathroom floor. Always pee.
But yeah, this show is great. I highly recommend it. I realized that our review this time was a little bit more disjointed than usual, but that's just because like this story, to be honest with you, it's a little bit nonlinear, and talking about it, there's just a lot. I mean, that's why I have my whole list of questions, comments, and concerns, because I'm like, there's a lot going on here. Also, a couple last things. Number one, how fucking weird is it that your ex-girlfriend when you were in college is now the mother to the guy you plan on boning for the rest of your afterlife?
Yeah, that was a little like...
Yeah.
How does the mom feel that her son is dating her college ex-boyfriend? Like,
she seemed down with it. Like at the dinner they had together, she seemed kind of chill, but
I know, but I would not have been kind of chill.
Yeah. And then there's a moment when Tan is visiting the gravesite for the last time before he takes Mess to his apartment, and he says, I won't be able to visit here very often because we plan on digging up my dad and my grandmother's graves and burning their bodies. Is that the solution to like housing issues when it comes to cemeteries, is just dig up the bodies and burn them? Do people like reuse these tombs? This is more of a logistics question again, but I'm just trying to figure out like, what is the rationale behind that? What goes on with that? Because obviously his dad has already gone on to reincarnation. Even his mom brings it up, that was a weird conversation. Again, I just need to know more about the rules of spirituality. But like the mom, when they're having the big coming out scene, she's like, your dad is probably a little boy now. And it's just like,
yeah. We don't need to know that.
Yeah.
I would love a scene though where she's walking down the street and she goes, Tan, you see that little boy? It's your dad.
Oh, no, leave me alone. But yeah, I have questions about that. At one point, I really thought that Tom was going to just off himself so he could be with Mess for eternity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that that was going to be our happy ending, which would have been catastrophic and terrible. But I don't know, man. Just there's a lot of room here for a part two, and not a
Yeah.
part two in terms of like a whole other season, but like a still together-ish part two, like 5 more episodes.
Yeah.
Because just I have questions we're asking. But anyway, if I was to rate this show, I would give this show a really solid 8.5. And I know my ratings have been really high, but it's a fun show to watch. It has an interesting storyline that you don't normally see in BL. And Singto and Ohm, they work their ass off in this. They
Yeah.
give you all the emotional quotient that you need, and every single side character does their part. There's not a single person that was acting on this thing that was less than stellar except for the twins. And that's because they played a pack of fucking bullies, and bullies always have terrible acting.
I'm with you. I think an 8.5 is a good score. Really fun show. I actually like that it's 8 episodes. I think this could make a really good movie. I think you could take this story, make it a 2-hour movie, and be really solid and perfect.
I almost feel like this is the opposite of Waterboy. Like Waterboy had too much stuff that you really needed to stretch it out into a show. This had just enough stuff where you could have condensed it and made it into a movie.
Oh, definitely. Like you can definitely take the emotional beats and just like condense some scenes together or cut some stuff out, make a really nice movie. That doesn't make it a better show. It just is like a thought I had.
Yes,
Anyways,
absolutely.
8.5, perfectly fair score. I really enjoyed this show, and I really enjoyed the rewatch, and I'll probably watch it again later because it's fun.
Yes, and I recommend other people to watch it too. I think you'll
Mhm.
like it. I think it's just got the right feel good to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let me get into Samantha's rant. But before I get into Samantha's rant, we're going to do Samantha's Instagrams of the day because this plays into my rant, and it's really important. So I have 4 Instagrams of the day. My 4 Instagrams of the day are Pawat, who is my favorite, my babe. Singto, who plays Mess, who is also a favorite. I love his fucking teeth. I also have Singh, who played Kim. His name is Singh, not Singto, just Singh. And then I have Chimon, who plays Prince. Now, here's a little bit of a game for you. If you had to guess between the 4 guys I just mentioned, who do you think has the most followers on Instagram?
I think so.
Okay, you'd be correct. Now, who has the second most followers on Instagram?
It should be Ohm, but I know you're gonna say it's not Ohm.
You're correct. Who do
It's
you think it
Kim,
is?
isn't it?
Yes, it is. No, it's not Kim. It's Prince.
Does Ohm have the least amount of followers?
Ohm has the third highest amount of followers. And the numbers are fucking startling. So Singto has 2.5 million followers on Instagram. Chimon has 2.2 million followers on Instagram.
He is
What?
cute though.
And then Ohm has 1.8 million followers on Instagram. And Singh has actually, I take that back. You were right the first time. Singh has 1.9 million followers. Ohm has the least followers of anyone in that cast. Of the 4 main guys, he has the least followers on Instagram. GMMTV, this is your fucking fault. It's your fucking fault. You did this. Why the fuck did you do this? Why are you like this? What the fuck, GMMTV? Ohm has the least followers of these 4 guys. Ohm has a longer filmography than Singh does. Ohm has had more leading roles. Ohm is fucking hot as shit. Like, why? Why is this happening? Why are you handicapping my man like this? You are putting a fucking chain around his ankle and won't let him fly. I don't understand. I love him. I love him. But you guys continue to just sabotage him with the fucking shipper. A show that Mason didn't watch, but I totally did. Fuck that fucking show. Fuck that fucking show. That show was marketed like it was a BL show, and it was a BL show by the very loosest of definitions. It was a BL show in the way that someone could say that, I don't know, My Best Friend's Wedding is a gay movie.
Uh-uh. No, does not
Exactly.
count. Does not.
Exactly.
Does not count.
So I'm just gonna ruin the shipper for anybody who wants to watch it. I'm so sorry. I'm ruining your fave. Is a high school student. His brother is like super popular because he's super smart. The brother and this girl who is friends with get into a motorcycle accident, and they both are declared dead by the gods. But apparently something was wrong. They weren't supposed to both die. And the girl gets sent back to Earth, but the boy never doesn't. But when she gets sent back to Earth, she gets sent back in the boy's body. So while she's in the boy's body, she is trying to develop a romantic relationship with the best friend of the boy she was in the car accident with, because she is a shipper and she ships them in a romantic way. So she's trying to make her shipper dreams come true. Well, long story short, the god of death says, actually, he was supposed to die in this accident, but because you have his body living, that body is now starting to die. And if you don't get back in your original body, you're both going to be declared dead in the book of the dead. So she tries to jump back into her regular body, but she can't because she needs true love's kiss, right? So she doesn't try kissing the boy that is a part of this shipping relationship that she wants, even though apparently those two were actually kind of fond of each other and it would have been true love's kiss. No. Do you know who she ends up kissing? She ends up kissing Ohm in his brother's body. They end up having a kiss that helps jumpstart her into her old body, because he's always had a crush on his best friend, but he just couldn't say it. And so he doesn't see her as his brother. He sees her as the girl he's always been in love with, even though he is literally kissing his brother's lips. Also, a total offbeat tone. He's more sad over the pending death of his never has been girlfriend than over the fact that he's going to lose his brother, that his brother is dead, never coming back. This is the material that GMM marketed as a BL.
And that's why I didn't watch, because I was suspicious.
I watched I watched because Ohm. I watched because Ohm. Because of the way that they marketed and because Ohm. And of course this didn't do anything for his popularity. Of course it didn't make his Instagram followers go up, because no one wanted to watch it. If you look at the numbers for the first episode versus the last episode, it's like a third of the audience tuned in, if that. It's terrible numbers. But also, Ohm is coming off of one of the best parts of his career. He did like an award-winning movie called Do the Movie, that he got awards for his acting. His co-star got awards for their acting. It's a great movie. I've talked about it on my channel. I love it. He's more than capable. More than capable. Why don't you put him in something? Hell, fucking Friend Zone that I'm watching right now with Singto, they're introducing new characters. Why didn't you fucking put Ohm in that? Why is it that y'all insist on fucking sabotaging him at every fucking turn? People want to see Ohm in a boys' love show. That's it. GMMTV, you don't need to do anything special. People want to see Ohm in a boys' love show. Find some fucking half-written Wattpad story that doesn't seem too complicated and has a bunch of sweet fanship moments, and put him in it and film that shit. Make it happen. Why do we have to make this so fucking difficult? Why do we keep having to fight to get him what he deserves? Because at the end of the day, if you make him popular, it makes you more money. You are losing money putting him in shows like The Shipper. This is your fucking fault. This has nothing to do with the lack of his talent. It's not that he's not marketing things. It's the fact that you put him in subpar material and you expect him to rescue that shit. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I'm incensed about it. Also, I have a small kind of bone to pick with the director of He's Coming to Me. The director of He's Coming to Me is director Backoff. That's his name. So, and he is going to be directing Tale of a Thousand Stars. He also directed Still Together. He directed Dark Blue Kiss, and he directed Our Sky. That's pretty good filmography, I believe. Together was not one of our favorite things in the world, but if you didn't write the script, and you just had to film it. You did what you had to do. Director, back off. Can I ask, will you please find a way to rescue Ohm? I know it's too late to cast him in A Tale of a Thousand Stars, but can you please find another property for him? Because you've seen him work, you know what he can do. He's got the charm, he's got the talent. You know GMM did him dirty. Please find a way to get him incorporated in the next big mainstream GMM boys love, because this can't go on. Either GMM release him from his contract and let him sign with one of the bigger broadcast companies in Thailand, or fucking give him what he needs, because we can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this. And that is Samantha's rant. I'm sorry. I'm so emotional over that boy. I figured out what it is I like about him. Because at first I'm like, I can't put my finger on it. Is it just because he's cute? No, it's not just because he's cute. What I like about is that when I'm watching shows like this, I love an actor who seems like they're completely invested in both the story and in being the character that they're supposed to be, and that they give uninterrupted attention to their co-stars. There's a lot of actors that I feel like they could not care less who they're acting with, as long as they're hitting their emotional beats and they're hitting the script moments. But whenever I see Ohm interact with anybody, be it the person that he's supposed to have the romantic relationship with, or the person who's supposed to be like the best friend, whatever, he always looks at them as if they are the only person he can hear in that very moment. And there's something about being under the focus of somebody who's concentrating that intensely and is feeding you that much emotional energy that I find extremely special. And he's done that in so many projects. So I know it's not just because he's working with one particular person. It's because he invests that kind of emotional relationship in every single thing he does. And to give that much of yourself into every project you're doing, you deserve to be in something that is just as invested in you as an actor. And outside of Do the movie, he has not had a single other thing that felt like it invested in him the way he's invested in everybody else's projects. So that's how I feel. All right, Mason, do we have a manga of the day?
Not. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. So my manga of the day is a manga that we might be reviewing as a boys' love later on down the road. So check it out if you want. It is a manga called Cherry Magic, or How 30 Years of Version Turned Me into a Wizard.
Better title.
Yes, it's a little long, so Cherry Magic it is. So Cherry Magic is a show that's currently airing right now. I don't have any legal links for you. I'm watching on YouTube, so do what you will with that information. But I'm really enjoying the show. I read the first volume on a website that I'm not supposed to be reading it on, but I just wanted to get a feel for it before I decided to invest any money. And it's a really cute story. The manga is being very faithfully reproduced by the show, and not in an uncomfortable way. There's no terrible wigs in this show like we normally see, which thank you, the Japanese Boys Love Gods, for helping us out with this hair situation. Uh,
I don't know
yeah.
what it was with Japan and the wigs, because I remember back in the day when any animated live action movie, the wigs, it's
Yeah.
horrifying. Horrifying. Japan
Well,
does not have good wigs, and it frustrates me.
I don't know why they don't have good wigs. It's not like they're not available, but I digress. But yeah, the hair is fine in this show. It looks like people are using their real hair, so I appreciate that. But yeah, the show is really cute, and the story is really cute. Basically, this guy is an office worker, and he has never been kissed, never had sex, never done anything with anybody. And he's about to turn 30, and his coworker says, "Oh, you're about to turn 30. You better get laid, or else you're going to turn into a wizard." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you'll be able to read people's mind because you have all that sexual energy stored up." And he's like, "Okay, that sounds ridiculous, but whatever." Goes home, wakes up the next morning, and anybody that presses against him or makes like contact with him, he can read their thoughts. And this leads to a little bit of a kerfuffle because he's in the elevator pressed against the number one sales guy in their office, who is a very handsome, tall, good looking, smart, you know, just a dreamboat of a guy. And he can hear the guy talking about his crush and thinking that his crush looks so cute today and his crush is just adorable and he's so glad they're sharing an elevator. And then at one point, like, people shove around to get out of the elevator, and his crush is like, oh, I can't believe I'm pressed up against him. And that's when he realized he is the crush that the top salesman is thinking about. So the rest of the show is basically him kind of reading this guy's mind and realizing that the crush that this guy has on him is not a I want to fuck you crush. It's a I really like him. Like, I want to go on dates with him and I want to buy him pajamas and I want to cook food for him. Like, I want him to be my boyfriend. And so it's just really cute because he is opposed to it a little bit because he's uncomfortable with somebody liking him since no one has ever liked him. But once he gets past that, the fact that they're both men doesn't really play a big part into things. It's just more him uncomfortable with his own physical, sexual nature and just being intimate at all with somebody because he's never been.
Mm.
So it's my manga of the day because it's a really cute BL show. So I encourage you to read the volumes. I don't know if the show is going to outpace what's currently written because there's only 2 volumes available on Amazon, and we're already at the end of volume 1 as of 3 episodes in.
Yeah, but we publish them very delayed.
Yeah, so
A
that's
lot of
why
these boys' loves are like 6 volumes deep, and then in America they're like 2 volumes in.
so that's why I'm not sure if we are outpacing or not, because the versions I've seen online that I read were basically scans of the American volumes. So I don't know kind of where the show's going to end or where it's keeping pace, but so far it's been really accurate to the manga, but actually a little bit nicer. And I don't normally say that, but it actually is like a little bit more fleshed out than the manga, which is very nice.
Mm.
So highly recommend. All right, announcement time, guys. Huddle in. It's family discussion. So me and Mason have now got, what is this, 24 episodes under our belt? Or is this 23?
27?
27. So for half of a year, we have been delivering weekly Boys Love reviews. And to be honest with you, it's a little much. It's not a little much in terms of us not wanting to do this. It's just every weekend we have to plan to spend our weekend getting ready to do this review, which means after working a full work week, we also are Saturday trying to gather our thoughts together and then Sunday trying to film. And that means no going on an overnight trip on the weekends, no spending the weekend just relaxing and being at home and decompressing. And so in order to be able to do this and still be able to keep the right energy and still be able to give you what you deserve in terms of us really caring about our reviews, we are going to be moving to an every other week schedule. Now, don't get it wrong. We're not going to stop. We don't immediately have plans to stop, I don't think, but it makes it easier for us in terms of us being able to kind of recharge and be able to do the show. But also it helps us to have new material to share with you, because right now we're at a place where nothing new has ended in terms of like Thai boys love, Japanese boys love, Taiwanese boys love. And so we're wanting to give a little space as well so that we have like new full series to talk about with you guys. So some stuff that we see coming down the pipe in the future. We see Cherry Magic being something that we plan on reviewing. We also see Love by Chance Season 2, A Chance at Love, being something we plan on drinking our way through. And we have new shows starting in November. We have Tharn Type, we have Manner of Death. And so there's a lot to start loving and enjoying. In fact, right now, this is the first week of the first episode of I Told Sunset About You, which I've heard amazing things about. So there's a lot of really good stuff coming down the pipe, and to keep us to where we can watch all of this stuff and be able to talk about it, we just need a little bit of breathing room, you guys. So we won't be having a review next week. We'll be having a review the week after. And because you guys have asked about it in the comment section before, and it's something that we've been asked to watch and review, and neither of us have seen it, our next review will be 3 Will Be Free. So look out for that. Look out for us. And thank you for everyone who has been subbing, who has been commenting, who has been enjoying this. A lot of the beginning of this was just the need for Mason and I to have somebody else to talk to about Boys Love.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of what prompted this. But as the weeks have gone by and we've been filming it on a more regular basis, this really has become something where we feel, or at least I feel, that we're a part of a small community of people who takes the more critical eye to things, and it's appreciated rather than criticized or fought against or anything else like that. We've created what I believe is a safe space for dissent. And so because of that, it's been a very special thing that I've been involved in, and I think it's been a special thing for Mason to be involved in. So I thank you very much for giving us your time and giving us the opportunity to be able to put in a half a year of doing these reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Mason, did you want to say anything before we close out? I dominate all of our vlogs, so I feel like I need to give you a chance to talk finally.
No, I just want to apologize. I feel like the last few weeks I've been not quite there in these videos, so I apologize to those who have noticed a lack of engagement. I apologize. Honestly, the world's crazy right now, and it's just, doing these every week was getting a lot. So it was at my request that we do make this every other week. So I hope no one that watches this is mad or offended. And hopefully we can just, I can be a bigger presence in these going forward, and I'm not as bogged down by like personal stuff. So I apologize. But also I tend to almost always agree with Sam on things, and I'm a very visual person, and Sam's really good at speaking. I am not. So sometimes it's just easier to let Sam speak for me.
Well, I appreciate you, Mason. You always make me feel like I'm smarter than I actually am. But yeah, I value Mason's input extremely. Like, first of all, Mason is the only person in the room who actually knows anything about the behind the scenes shit. Like, how things are filmed and all that kind of stuff. I know nothing about that. Like, my complaints about the lighting, Mason's the one who's like, yeah, because they use natural light. It's never me. I'm always just like, why don't somebody turn on a fucking light bulb?
Is it 3 because my lighting is currently shit?
No. Actually, I can tell you where that comes from. In episode 8, they're talking in the dark about like, what do you feel about me? Do you love me? I love you too. They're like having like an in-depth emotional conversation, and that place is dark as shit. I can barely see anything that's going on. And I just got through watching Gaia Sapolicula episode 5, and there are at least 15 minutes of film where it is dark as shit and I can't see what the fuck is going on. So it is a thing where it's not you. It's been what I've been watching lately has been super dark, and I'm like, why is it that other places know how to film in the dark but y'all can't get it together? Mm-hmm. So trust me, it is not you. It is all about what I've been currently watching and the disappointments I've been having with what I've been currently watching. But I also think that maybe the reason why episode 8 was so dark for me to watch was because we were watching a bootleg, and maybe it got muddled.
Yeah, that does happen with bootlegs.
Yeah, so that could very well be a part of the reason why that last episode of He's Coming to Me was like a little hard to see. But
sorry, continue. Oh, just with
things
dark, you need to watch them like they're made to be watched in a dark room, like a theater, where it's like lights are off and the screen's the brightest thing, So, and then when you get a lower grade version of that, it's just gonna not be as good.
Right. And so, I mean, it's very much like Game of Thrones, how everybody's like, we can't see anything. Yeah. They're having a fucking war and we can't see anything. Yeah. Like, well, it's supposed to be like that. Like, well, okay, that'd be true if we were actually in a movie theater watching Game of Thrones, but we're at home. It's on fucking HBO.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I just, there are a lot of, one day, just as an aside, not as a scheduled episode for anything, we really do need to talk about the most annoying things we see time and time again in boys love, because we see a lot of stuff in boys love that is high-key annoying, that happens over and over and over again. And it's not something that's like, this particular boys love did this annoying thing. No, it is consistent throughout boys love. And it's a lot of it is filming techniques, a lot of it is editing problems, a lot of it is tropes. But there are some things that we see over and over again, and it blows my mind that we keep seeing this and that it's a known problem, but it keeps happening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So one day we'll have to do a whole video about that and just be grumpity grumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.